I want to start with a confession. A few months ago, I had one of the best evenings of my adult life. I am not going to tell you exactly what happened, but I will tell you this. It was simple. Almost embarrassingly simple. No trip, no achievement, no milestone, just a quiet sequence of very ordinary things that somehow aligned into something that felt sacred, and I did not post it. Not a story, not a photo, not even a text to a friend saying, "Hey, this is nice." I just stayed in it. I let it be just mine. And here is what struck me later, lying in bed that night. That was the happiest I had felt in months, maybe longer. And the fact that no one knew about it, the fact that it existed only inside my own chest, did not make it feel smaller. It made it feel more real than almost anything else in my life. That moment started a question I have not been able to shake. What if the happiness we chase, the kind we perform, caption, and broadcast, is actually a decoy? What if somewhere underneath all the noise, there is a quieter, truer version of joy that we have almost completely forgotten how to feel? That is what we are going into today. And I promise you, by the time we come out the other side, something will have shifted. Welcome back to the show. I am so glad you are here. Let me take you back to something. Think about the last time you were at a genuinely beautiful place. Maybe a beach, a mountain overlook, a city you had always wanted to visit. Do you remember the moment you arrived, the first second you actually saw it? And now tell me honestly, how long before you reached for your phone? For most people, the answer is measured in seconds. Not because we are shallow, not because we do not appreciate beauty, but because we have been slowly, systematically trained to convert experience into content, to turn feeling into signal. This is not an accident. It is the architecture of our digital world working exactly as designed. Every platform you use is built around a single behavioral loop. Experience something, share it. Receive validation. Experience the need to share more. The loop is engineered. The dopamine hit is real. And somewhere along the way, most of us stepped into that loop and never fully stepped out. But here is where it gets genuinely unsettling. Researchers in behavioral psychology have found something they call experience-to-caption collapse. The time between having an experience and mentally reframing it as content has shrunk dramatically over the past decade. People are no longer just sharing after the fact. They are composing during. They are narrating their own lives to an imagined audience even when no phone is in their hand. Think about what that means. It means we have started living inside a performance even when the curtain is not up. There is a woman I read about. Her name does not matter. But she had built a following around documenting her life, her travel, her meals, her moments of apparent joy and triumph. And in an interview, she said something that stopped me cold. She said, "I genuinely cannot remember the last time I felt something without immediately thinking about how to describe it to my audience." She was not complaining. She said it almost proudly. But to me, that sentence is one of the loneliest things I have ever heard. Because what she was describing was the complete colonization of inner life. The self, crowded out by the broadcaster. The feeling, replaced by the framing of the feeling. And she is not alone. She is just more honest than most. Let us talk about what performative joy actually looks like, because it is subtler than you think. It is not just the influencer staging a moment. It is you, laughing a little louder at a dinner party because you are aware you are being watched. It is you taking the scenic route to a weekend trip and spending the entire drive thinking about how to frame it online. It is the birthday celebration that gets slightly derailed because everyone is trying to get the right shot before the food goes cold. It is the grief you shared because you wanted people to know you were going through something hard. The accomplishment you announced the second it happened, before you had even finished feeling it. We have built a world where experiences have become raw material. And we are all, to varying degrees, factory workers processing that raw material into shareable product. And here is the really troubling part. The research suggests that the act of sharing an experience, particularly online, actually diminishes your memory of it. A study out of Fairfield University found that people who photographed objects in a museum remembered them less accurately than people who simply observed them. The act of capturing for an audience, even the imagined audience of your own future memory, pulled you out of the moment. It created distance between you and the thing you were supposedly preserving. The camera, instead of saving the moment, consumed it. So, we are sacrificing presence for documentation. We are trading the depth of an experience for a compressed, filtered, shareable version of it. And we call this staying connected. But connected to what? To an audience that is simultaneously doing the same thing. Broadcasting their own performances of happiness to you, while you broadcast yours to them. Two screens facing each other, each reflecting a carefully edited version of a life, with no one actually home. This is the social media happiness trap. And it is so pervasive, so normalized, so deeply embedded in daily life, that most people do not even feel the walls. They just feel vaguely hollow, vaguely like something is missing. Vaguely like they are watching their own life from a slight distance. That vague distance has a name. It is the gap between performing joy and actually experiencing it. I want to tell you about a different kind of happiness, not less, not more virtuous, just different in texture, different in how it lives inside you. There is a kind of contentment that does not announce itself. It does not arrive with fanfare. It does not photograph well. It will never trend. It is the feeling of finishing a hard week and sitting in your car in the driveway for an extra few minutes before going inside. Just because the song on the radio was good and you were not ready to stop. It is the specific quality of light on an ordinary afternoon that hits the wall of your kitchen and makes everything feel, just for a second, like enough. It is the familiar weight of a friendship so old that you do not need to perform anything, where silence is just silence and not something that needs to be filled or documented. These moments are not dramatic. They do not scale. They do not go viral. And yet, ask anyone who has survived something truly hard, a loss, an illness, a period of real darkness. Ask them what they missed most, what they longed for. It is rarely the big moments. It is the small ones, the Tuesday afternoons, the unremarkable dinners, the quiet mornings. The things that were never posted. There is a concept in Japanese aesthetics called wabi-sabi, the finding of beauty in imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. A cracked tea bowl. A mossy stone. A fading afternoon. There is no equivalent concept widely embraced in Western, social media-shaped culture, because our culture is obsessed with polish, with completion, with the highlight. But wabi-sabi points to something real, something the algorithm cannot reach, the beauty of things that do not perform. And then there is the Danish concept of hygge. The Norwegians have friluftsliv. The Swedes have lagom. Culture after culture has developed language for this specific kind of quiet, unspectacular, deeply nourishing contentment, because humans have always known it existed. We have always known there was a version of happiness that required no audience. We just forgot for a while. Or we were distracted from it by very loud, very persuasive forces with a financial interest in our dissatisfaction. Because here is the economic reality underneath all of this. Your contentment is bad for business. A person who is genuinely at peace with their life does not click as much, does not scroll as desperately, does not buy things to fill a void that is not there. The entire infrastructure of digital attention is built on a quiet background anxiety, in the sense that somewhere else, other people are living a life richer than yours. Private joy is a radical act because it cannot be monetized. It cannot be extracted. It belongs entirely and only to the person feeling it. So what do we actually do with this? I am not going to tell you to delete your apps. You have heard that before, and you are still here, which means either it did not work or you have decided that is not the solution. Both are fair. What I want to offer is something more subtle, a shift not in behavior first, but in attention. The next time you feel something, before the reflex fires, before the hand moves to the phone, just pause for one breath and ask yourself one question. Do I want to feel this, or do I want to perform this? That is it. That is the whole practice at first. Just the gap. Just the one breath of awareness between the experience and the broadcast. Because inside that breath is the beginning of something. It is the moment where you get to choose. Not permanently, not forever, just this once, just this moment. And what you often find, when you let yourself stay in the experience instead of immediately converting it, is that the feeling deepens. That there is more there than the caption would have captured. That reality, unfiltered and unwitnessed by anyone but you, is actually richer than the version you would have posted. This is what I think of as reclaiming your interior life. Your interior life is the most valuable thing you have, not your content, not your feed. The actual, private, subjective experience of being you, in your body, in your moments, in your ordinary and extraordinary days. Some people start keeping what they call a private joy journal. Not a gratitude list, not a documentation of achievements, just a place to record the things that felt good that no one else will ever see. The whole point is privacy. The whole point is that it exists for no audience. And what people often find, when they start paying attention to these unperformed moments, is that their life is far richer than they thought. That the raw material was always there. The problem was never a scarcity of good moments. The problem was that they had been trained to overlook anything that did not perform well. Start looking for the things that perform badly. The awkward, the quiet, the simple, the slow. That is where the real gold is. I want to come back to where we started. That evening I had. The one I did not post. I still think about it sometimes. Not because I am holding on to it desperately, but because it surfaces naturally the way real memories do. Gently, without effort. It is part of me in a way that my most liked posts will probably never be. And I think that is the thing I most want to leave with you today. The moments you keep are the moments that keep you. The joy that has no audience is not lonely. It is not wasted. It is not less. It is actually the architecture of a life that belongs to you, a self that has not been entirely handed over to the noise. You are allowed to be happy privately. You are allowed to live moments that exist for no one but you. You are allowed to have an inner life so full that the feed feels thin by comparison. That is not isolation. That is sovereignty. In a world that is loudly, constantly, aggressively competing for your attention and your sense of self, the quietest rebellion you can stage is simply this. Feel something, fully, and keep it. Just for you. Thank you for spending this time with this episode. If something in here landed for you, share it with someone who you think needs to hear it. And then, genuinely, put on something without a screen, find a Tuesday afternoon moment and let it be enough. Until next time.